All right, welcome to Wickerson Studios. I'm starting to put some of this into action. I'm starting yet another video series to show that I'm actually not as boring a guy as people might think I am, doing all of these basic tutorials, dealing in the maths. But once you get the foundation done, generating something like this is so simple, and you've got to put it in time for a few months till you get things figured out. But I'm going to show you what script's going on here. I basically have a turntable going right now on my Rhino and 3 renderings. Let's stop that, render, exit it out. Take a look and see what we have here in shaded. 3 models that were actually pulled out. You can view them in rendered or whatever you want, and you can certainly view them where I'm intending to take them to ray trace. You can see what's happening when I actually generate them in this kind of desert feel. Don't let this script over here throw you. That's one that I've shown you a few times for making a really awesome surface edit. I think it's worth taking a look at. I actually like it in artistic. I like it in technical. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to leave that off. I'm not even going to worry about that surface where I've placed these. And I'm going to hit disable. I'm going to take preview off that. And so we're not even bothering with that. And I'm going to take that one that I've actually gotten there, and I'm just going to get rid of it. There may be multiple. There shouldn't be. So here are the 3 objects that I brought in. We'll just put them back into their shaded mode. And all of these are scripted. And this first script up here, this little one here, I'll show you. It's nothing. It's just the symbolic flag that represents this kind of town. Now I have to hold this up because this I generated. I don't think you can see it, but it's a D&D map of the first city in the world of Duchame. I made when I was 17 years old, so we're looking at 31 years ago. And I've got a whole world here that I can actually use as inspiration for bringing in what this actually is, which is I have to put it in a forest, and it's basically a burned out castle, and it's overrun down below. I've got to do multiple layers, but I wanted to have a ruin somewhat, as this was a ruined castle of something worth entering. And I'm going to show you the geometries, how to make that, to use that for renderings. It's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to lock everything off. And then also I wanted to show my script as we go through here. I'm going to move this over here as we generate it. Over here on my Grasshopper script, I'm going to make it a little bigger. I've got basically information I'm going to do on each one of these as to what that city is. I've got a little flag thing here that when I activate this script, I drew up these little flag forms. So if I enable it, you can see basically this little thing here was the symbolic kind of flag or symbol for Agle or Agle. And I thought I'd just write a little tiny script in there of how to generate. So it's pretty simple. It was just build a rectangle, go through find center, move those tools, make a line, scale them, move them up and down in positive and negative, take them all together, and basically have a flag that if you wanted to bake it, you'd have a little symbol or whatever of the flag of that you could put into your thing to mark this territory. So it's just a fun little assignment. Probably just going to hide that one away too. It'll come and cause me trouble later. So basically, I'm just going to take that whole script because that's just the flag. It's not much. It's a little exercise. Disable it. And then really the script I wrote is right here. And I think it's kind of exciting. I'll try and walk through it. We are 3.5 minutes in and may as well get through that script. So what I have here, and it might help if I put it on all sides, and just let me move this a little bit, slam that off to the side and downsize this, not worry about any of the renders. Let's see what happens when I bring this in, and I'm not sure when I put it on standard and do zoom extends all how small it's going to become. Well, it's going to become very, very tiny because of that other script. Anyway, we'll just mark this off and we'll start looking at it. So what I did was I built I thought in boxes, and I actually thought I'd make a box. And in doing so, I thought I'd use this numbers to point tool, which I thought would be pretty cool. So I thought that I'd begin with a range and another range that would be numbers to points, the same points. I'd move one set. So if you take a look here, one set of points and another set of points could actually be the AB points on that plane of this kind of cube system. So that's basically what I'm building for my first sliders. It's not too exciting, but as you move it, you can see it's a pretty fast-moving script, even though it's got a few boxes. And all I've done is I have moved them on a vector that has a basic jitter, range, and domain to it. So they kind of build these squares like this old squared up castle and what's left in it. And that's a little too neat for my liking, so I'll probably take a look at that. I know I have some control over it, but basically made boxes in a very kind of jittery pattern. I will put it on GitHub if you want to take a look at it. It's not too hard to figure out. It's working in vectors, finding the center of those points, and then finding a brep plane. I just wanted to find where those breps touched. I don't even know if I need the center. Yeah, I guess I do. Basically, where it touched the bottom plane. And in doing so, I found a list length, and I took those bottom numbers, and I thought, well, let's rotate them on the same type of thing, a jitter, range, domain, in pi. So I actually have some pi control. If I chase that back, let me make sure I get it. Sorry for this, because I've got it set that I can watch those turn, and I have a kind of twisted pattern that's gonna move at different rates. It's going to jump and take on different values as I move that. But there, I've got it at 0.33 pi, times pi for the radians. And then what I've then done is I've done a non-uniform scale. So you can take this value that I plugged into X, you could plug it into Y, and you get this kind of weird floor pattern. And what I thought was I would make those surfaces, and I would use that list length and the same thing. I didn't use a jitter node, but I took it through a domain, range, and Z, and I extruded those up. And those becomes the cavities. They actually become a pretty cool building structure if you think about it, but I thought those should become the negative cavities of what's left from this brep and this brep to build the negative. So in there, I have this negative space that's tried to carve itself out and make these very cool geometries up underneath this thing. And that's the script. That's for generating a different kind of city. And in doing so, you can see when you start to play with your domain, and what I would suggest is going in using your snap and drag it down this way and see what happens to your geometries. They become all small. They've separated. Maybe because they're separate, I'll get a little warning on this final node, but it's still working fully. It's just a very interesting way to build an architectural structure with a little bit of random jitter and chaos. Let's go into here and let's take the, we're at 7 minutes so far. Let's see. And I've got everything set on even, and I did that for a reason, because I have to think why I did that for a reason, stepping back on integers, even numbers. I guess because I did have a bug and things were kind of going a little fudgy if I didn't have it. But you can see I start to change the domains of those, how far they can stretch. So if I take this one, edit, and I bring that one back up as a high range, as a low range, you can see what it does. It's going to make it huge in height, and the chunks coming out of it are going to leave these overhangs. And what you end up playing with as you go in here, the edit, is you'll see you start to leave a ruins, kind of a blown apart hole or hanging structures, and I find that very interesting because I wouldn't generally make these geometries or come up with them. But you take these forms, and then I've got a number slider to this. I'm just going to get rid of the whole thing so we can see it, every aspect of it, because I've got everything on but my last thing. I'm going to take this tool and bring this value down to maybe a count of 2 or 5. See what that does to it. And you see it kind of carves back the shape. And as I keep moving that number down, I get a more ruinous or cavernous kind of structure that's leaving residue hanging, collapsing. I then have my pi in my rotation, so I can take this pi right up way past closer to 2 pi. So I'll bring it up to 1.38 pi, 39 pi, and you see I get the kind of twist and decay as things are being carved out. And then I've got my scale non-uniform that can affect the X or Y. So what I'm going to do is bring that up to 7 as a scale. It's probably going to take a bigger chunk out, I think. There we go. So you get this nice hollow, this nice baked ruin as you enter this. Things have been destroyed and whatever you want to do. And if I took that, I'm going to move my face down here, that would be a pretty cool one to bake. But before I bake it, I'm going to go back into my script, take a look at what else I can think about. What if I did shift my X scale to my Y scale? What if I hit Control Shift and pulled that non-uniform scale into the Y? What does that do to that structure? And there it goes. It makes it more cavernous on this side, and it rotates it to the other side. So you're really playing with vectors. You're playing with scales, non-uniform. You're making surfaces. You're lofting things, and you're left with this pretty cool brep that I'm going to bring in. I'm going to bake it probably under 4 because I don't think I baked anything under 4. It's actually one nice unit that I can explode and take apart. It's a really good geometry to bring in, to print and think about. And if you like the architects like Stephen Hall and others, you're going to really like this technique because you have a script that can change everything. Now, as I go out of here, and drop down my Grasshopper and enlarge my Rhino window, I can go back in, take a look at this as a whole, grab that geometry, move it out of the way because I know I'm going to want to bring back in. I still have the ghosted image here of the Grasshopper, and I'm always getting in my way with my picture. I probably need to take that off. Let's open that back up as a Grasshopper. And we'll just put this on and leave it so that file's gone. In my way again, shrink that down, and then come back into zooming in on these geometries, and let's take the visibility and bring out the other ones. Let's bring out everything again. So you have everything out again, and you've got these structures, and I know I moved one, but I moved it in the wrong direction. I meant to move it back this way. So you can kind of position these around. You can still play with them as geometries. All different cool castles that could be explored. You take that one into the ray traced. It's pretty cool, but actually better yet, take it into artistic and just get down there on eye level and start panning around and think of your cities all generated in these little castles and what that would feel like for a, I did it as a kid as a role-playing game. I really enjoyed it. We'll throw the turntable. Actually, I do like technical a lot, but I also like pen drawing. So let's just put that on, do the turntable. And what a wonderful way to get some models rendered very quickly from some simple maths. And we've got the little flag right there in the middle that represents the geometry of what Agle would be. And I think you'll find that pretty cool. So I'll try and share those files, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying doing this. I'm hoping I get more and more subscribers to push myself. And like I said, I have a list here, a piece of paper I generated and put behind plastic 31 years ago, and it's every single city with its flag, with who's running it, what race, what leaders. Like I said, start with something that's creative that you've done, that you have a passion for, be it karate or cooking or playing the piano or writing music, and you'll be able to build some pretty incredible geometries and be creative. That's what this is all about. Digital modeling for the 21st century sculptor, can be architect, can be whatever you want. I love it. All right. Thanks for watching.